Hi, I'm Chef Lynn. Welcome to the Flavor Secrets Kitchen. And welcome to my guest today, Mr. Ruben Griffin, Chef Ruben Griffin, I should say. And I'm excited to tell you that he is starting his own catering company, and this is brand new news. What will you tell me about it?
It's called Naya Catering and Cuisine, stands for Not Your Average. Me and a couple other gentlemen, we've been bouncing around ideas of opening up our own restaurant, and we decided to start off with this first because there's actually a little more demand to do jobs and gigs, and it's easier to do than opening up your own brick and mortar establishment. So.
That's great. So it's NYA Catering Company, and I'm really excited to hear this because Ruben is one of the best chefs I know.
Oh, thank you.
And I have to tell you, I can make something and he can walk in here and kick it up a notch. So I'm really excited to be able to call you for my parties. I definitely will, and I hope you will too. How do people get a hold of you?
Well, we have a website right now, and then it has a phone number to be able to contact us off of that. And then you can also contact me through Ruben at nayacatering.com.
Okay, and the website will be?
www.nayacatering.com.
Nayacatering.com. I could have guessed that. Okay, what are you going to make for us today? I'm so excited.
So we've got some nice porterhouse or T-bone lamb chops here. We're going to pan fry these off and then finish them off in the oven. We're going to serve that with some roasted cauliflower that we have right here as well. And then we're going to serve that with a little bit of pan roasted Brussels sprouts.
Okay, and you've got a couple of appetizers too,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. We've got two appetizers that we do that we specialize at with Naya Cuisine. We've got our lamb kofta tots.
So is that Russian? Kofta?
No, kofta is Lebanese. It's
Lebanese,
the Lebanese ground lamb skewer that you get with your large like shawarma plates and whatever.
Okay.
Then we are also going to do our BLT spoon, which is a signature dish. So it's a bacon bourbon jam mixed with the arugula, deviled egg vinaigrettes, and tomatoes on a spoon. So.
Awesome. I can't wait to try that. I always say I'll never eat into a microphone, but I might make an exception today. All right, have at it.
Wonderful. So we're going to fire up this pan, get it up nice and hot so we can sear off the lamb chops.
Okay, so we've got some Paso Olivo oil here, one of my favorites from California. I always stuff it into my suitcase when I go out to Paso Robles.
Really nice little olive oil that we get to use. Some lamb chops. Now with any red meat, people tend to be a little shy on the salt, and the truth is you actually need to get a little bit heavier than what you would normally think, especially if you're not seasoning it ahead of time. So that way it allows the meat to absorb the flavor, because it does need the flavor. So
how far ahead would you season it?
Half an hour.
Half an hour, okay. And let it warm up just like with beef?
Yep, just like beef. Keep it at room temperature. It's going to allow you to cook your product a lot quicker, which is going to result in a better product too. You get a better sear on the outside, and better color on the inside.
No pepper?
I just got a little pepper.
Oh, you did pepper,
yep,
okay.
I was
sorry.
A little quick with that one.
Okay.
So we're going to get both sides of it.
Now talk to me about lamb, because I know a lot of people don't like lamb, or think they don't like lamb, because they think it has a gamey taste, and I think lamb has changed a lot, and it also depends on where you get it from, right?
Yeah, if you get a domestic lamb, it's not going to be as gamey, the good Colorado lamb, and it depends on the cut as well. People probably had maybe mutton, or in stews, which is mutton, which is an older lamb, which will definitely have a gamier flavor. But it's lower in saturated fats than most beef products, unless you're using grass-fed beef. So it's a better option.
One of the reasons I wanted to do, that's exactly one of the reasons I wanted to do lamb today, is because it makes a great diet dish. And people are asking me all the time, how can I get out of this diet dish rut? Because you do the chicken breast and you do the vegetables and you get kind of tired of it. So this is a great idea for a good diet dish.
Absolutely.
Starting to smoke there, all right.
So yeah, we are right at the smoking point, which is when you want to use the pan. You don't want to let it get too much higher than that. Going to get the lamb in there. Space it out evenly. If you cluster it too much, you're going to steam it instead of searing it. So it's important not to put too much in your pan at one time. So you want to get a good...
Do you need some tongs?
Yes, please.
There There you go.
So you want to get a nice good sear in there. You see we've got a good spacing of it. Get a good sear in there. A little bit of fresh rosemary to help scent it.
You know, that's interesting that you didn't even take the leaves off. You just put it in there.
It's a lot easier to pick out this way, especially when you when the rosemary gets too hot. It's going to get crispy. You can choke on it. It's unpalatable to the mouth. But when you put the whole stems in there, you're going to extract the essential oils from it and still get all the great flavor that you want.
Awesome. That's a great tip. Let me get this out of your way.
Oftentimes in restaurants, what we tend to do is, especially for grilled a grilled application, is you'll take large stems of rosemary like this, tie them all together, and dip them in garlic olive oil combination, and use that to baste the product on the grill itself. So you're still getting that great flavor.
Another good tip.
Without having to worry about the unpalatable rosemary stems and skewers at the same time.
I think that's another reason people don't think that they don't like lamb, because they think they have to put rosemary in it.
Absolutely.
And so that's a really good tip. I love that. And the other nice thing about it is it really doesn't take very long to cook, does it?
It does not. I mean, these chops, now that we've rotated them, we'll get another nice sear, and then we'll remove it from the heat and stick it in the oven, and it should be ready in approximately 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll put it in the oven at what temperature?
375.
For maybe
8 to 10 minutes,
8 to 10
depending on the doneness. That would be medium rare to a medium right there.
Okay.
If you want a little bit more, I'd say add it on 2 to 4 minute increments for each temperature up.
So in a restaurant, you're going to have this all done, sitting there waiting, and when I order my lamb, it goes into the oven?
Yeah, often, lots of times, yeah. You get things pre-seared, pre-prepped, room temperature, and you finish. That way it's allowing for a faster pickup time is what we like to call it.
So you can do that at home too. If you're having guests, do this part ahead, let it sit there, then when you're ready, just throw it in the oven and you're finished. And then you don't have you can clean up the grease mess and your spices that are all over your kitchen.
You can entertain in the kitchen at the same time.
Right,
so.
yeah. Because I don't know about you, I'm sure it's the same. Whenever anyone comes to my house, they want to watch me cook. So
absolutely. Or when I've done parties at your house, the party tends to be in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, right. That's because of you.
Well, wonderful. So we're going to kill the heat on that, and then we can move that right into the oven.
Okay. Let's just set it over here for the moment, and we'll put everything in the oven together. We'll follow our advice.
Absolutely. So it's just resting right there. The next thing we're going to work on is our lamb kofta tots. So we have a pound of ground lamb right there. Over here we have a mixture of herbs and spices. We've got cumin, coriander, allspice, ginger, cinnamon, salt, pepper, minced parsley, and mint. So you take all that together, you add that to your ground lamb.
So that's all measured out, and he didn't give you the exact amounts, but I'll put that whole recipe on my blog, cheflynnmiller.wordpress.com, so you can see the recipes for all the things we do today on my blog.
Got a little bit of minced garlic right there, and then we have onion that we threw on a box grater and shredded it fine, so that way you get all the juice from it, and it's nicely ground and mixed up as well.
This is a box grater. It's kind of shaped like a box, and it's got 4 different kinds of things you can do with it. A very fine one, a medium one, a slicer on the side, and then a large, what would you call that?
Shredder.
Large grating
shredder.
for shredding. So that's what he used. He used the large one for the onion.
So I'm using rubber gloves, that way I don't have to worry about the mess as much, but there's nothing wrong with getting in and mixing it up with your hands. So what we're going to do is we're just going to form these into little tiny balls.
Oil this or no?
Doesn't need to be oiled.
Okay.
Just little tiny balls. You want, obviously this is an hors d'oeuvre, an appetizer, whatever you like to call it. Just little tiny balls that will fit onto these little cucumbers that we have sliced up here.
And also kind of bite-sized, right?
Absolutely, bite-sized.
Can you put that whole cucumbber in your mouth or no? 'Cause
I've got a big mouth.
You have a big mouth.
So
Okay, but that's something you'd want to serve with a plate then, probably, because it's more than one bite.
absolutely.
Right? Unless you don't care about your carpeting.
And you can cut your cucumber into discs if you want, just to set the meatball on top of the discs as well. I like the variation in texture and shape with the angled. I call them cucumber boats.
Cucumber boats, I like that. It looks like a boat.
Yeah.
You've got one more hors d'oeuvre?
One more hors d'oeuvre. So we've got our our BLT spoons. So I made the bacon bourbon jam ahead of time because that is quite a process.
This is hot here, so is it okay if I set it back
Absolutely.
here? Or can I set it in front of you here? So
It's got the bacon bourbon jam.
I like everything really neat.
Absolutely.
Obsessive compulsive here.
Not a worry at all. So the bacon bourbon jam, it's Lynn's got the recipe for that as well. It does take quite a bit of time to make because you need to render off the bacon, cook the onions, and garlic in that as well.
Render the bacon just means cook the fat out of it.
Absolutely, sorry.
It's okay.
And then you add your brown sugar, your maple syrup, and your bourbon. And then you reduce that down to a nice little bubbly mass, and then run it through the food processor so it's pureed up and all easily incorporated together. So that's what we have right there. And then we just take that and cool it off for each order. I mean, cool it off ahead of time.
The restaurant training's still coming out there. For each order.
we cool it off ahead of time and then warm it up as we need it.
This is called a quenelle, this little shape he's making with the spoons, and it's worth practicing because it's so pretty. So to make the vinaigrette?
To make the vinaigrette, we take 1 cup of seasoned rice vinegar.
Or champagne vinegar.
Or champagne vinegar.
Whoa, how about that? 1 cup, exactly.
1 cup of chopped eggs.
Okay. And these aren't really finely chopped, they're just kind of...
They're just roughly chopped so we can get a
chopped.
good measurement on it.
Because we're putting them in the food processor, they'll get chopped anyway.
2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard.
Okay. Can I use my finger? I don't have a... Don't tell, don't tell. That's all right, it's done.
Okay. A tablespoon of paprika.
Okay, I'm gonna guess on that one.
That's all right.
Here's a tablespoon of paprika.
Teaspoon of garlic powder.
Okay, this is my garlic powder.
And a teaspoon of onion powder.
And a teaspoon of onion powder.
So then what we'll do is we'll puree that up. And then what we're gonna do is, the process is called emulsification, where you slowly drizzle in oil, and this is really how all good vinaigrettes and dressings are made. You puree it up, and then you slowly drizzle in the oil once the product is pureed up to allow the fats and the liquid to properly form together.
Okay, I'm just going to show that for a minute, and it'll be a little bit noisy, but... So it's pureed, and then you want to drizzle it like this. And this is, by the way, vegetable oil, not... I was looking in there to see if that was in there. Vegetable oil, not olive oil. I'm not very good with the food processor. My friends know it.
Yeah, you want to use vegetable oil because the vegetable oil is going to be what's the proper word I'm thinking of? It's going to be a good medium. It's not flavorful. It's not going to have it's not going to be overpowering like a good olive oil would be.
It's not so strong. Yeah.
You can use vegetable oil. You can use grapeseed oil, canola oil, corn oil. Any of those, very neutral is the word I was looking for.
I always like to tell people options you can use because it always happens you think you're ready for your party and you don't want to have to run to the store just for one thing when you don't really need it.
Absolutely.
Okay, well we're going to throw these in the oven and we'll be right back to plate it up and show you the rest. Okay, we've got everything cooked now. 10 minutes on the lamb chops and 10 minutes on the meatballs. Now, how do you know those lamb chops are done?
Well, you can tell by the amount of liquid that's coming out of them and the color of the liquid. Also, you can tell by the texture of it as well. Being that they are they're not the rib chops that we're used to, they're going to actually be firmer than what you expect. because the rib chops have a larger fat content. These are.
But you were going for medium rare on these?
Medium rare, medium. These are probably right closer to medium, honestly, right now than medium rare.
Okay.
So
what about that wonderfully flavored juice there? Do we do
that
anything
juice
with
is
that?
staying in the pan to cook the Brussels sprouts in, which is what we're going to do next.
Yeah.
So we'll just move these out of the way while we cook the Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
So we're going to start the pan back up. Still got some good residual heat because it came out of the oven.
Okay, and these are what Brussels sprouts look like, just in case you don't know. They're just a little, they're like a little tiny cabbage.
Mm-hmm. They grow on a long stalk, and they're arranged up around the stalk. So it's, you can get the whole stalks at farmers markets. You could actually have gotten them up until Thanksgiving, almost Christmas time down at Eastern Market.
Is that cheaper because they don't have to take them off the stalk?
It is cheaper. Not considerably cheaper, but it is cheaper, and they are fresher. So
okay.
you're talking about a better product at that point in time.
So we took this little root piece off before we started.
Yep, we took the root piece off and we cut them in half to just kind of promote a faster cooking product.
So you don't worry about all those leaves that fall off, you just leave them?
Yep.
Okay.
So you're going to pull out all that great flavor from the rosemary, from the lamb itself, a little bit of the residual oil in there. I'm going to add probably just a pinch more of oil to it, just a touch, because these Brussels sprouts will actually soak a decent amount of it up.
Of course, I put the top on it, so it's hard to get this top off. Hopefully it won't go spraying all over. There you go.
So just a nice little drizzle around it. We got that in there. I always like my Brussels sprouts with some type of pig product. Pancetta, ham, bacon, prosciutto is what we're using this time. So we'll get that in there right off the bat.
So it's what, 4 pieces of prosciutto chopped up?
Yep.
Something like that?
And prosciutto is cut very thin, so this will, we mentioned rendering it before. There's still a decent amount of fat in this, and that's why I only added a little bit of olive oil to it. So you've got a good fat in there, and I mean, the smell is awesome on this right now.
No kidding. And they're getting a nice little browning from the juices, right?
Yep, from
also,
the juice.
as well as from the caramelization.
Yep, the French term of that is called fond, which is all the fun stuff at the bottom of the pan when you cook stuff at high heat with the meat product. And all that stuff is flavor. So we're going to kind of get that going. And we're going to reduce the heat down to that to let it go for a little bit longer. You want to pull some of the moisture out of the Brussels sprouts, but not too much. So next we're going to go to completing the kofta tots dish. So right here we have Greek yogurt.
2 cups.
2 cups of Greek yogurt. Right here, remember we talked about pulling the seeds out of the cucumber. So I took the seeds and the end pieces of the cucumber, threw them in the food processor, and then I push it through a fine strainer to remove a lot of that liquid, because if you added all that liquid, cucumbers are 85 to 90% liquid actually. If you add all that liquid to the sauce, it's going to just be super runny. It's not going to hold any shape. We also have roasted garlic pureed as well. So we're going to add.
So to roast garlic, you just put it in a casserole pan, drizzle it with a little bit of oil, cover it with what do you call it? Tin foil. Cover it with tin foil, and then roast it in the oven. I roasted that for about a half an hour, and then just turned the oven off for another half an hour.
So we've got
it in there. A little bit of salt there.
All that in there with a touch of cayenne, just to add a little bit of heat to it. We're just going to mix this up.
Yummy.
So it's a nice little play on tzatziki sauce. You've got your garlic in there, which is going to give a nice, sweet, robust flavor. It is cheaper to make these products at home when you're buying a pre-made product. People, you know, you're paying for their labor and their packaging and everything. Just a little bit of the tzatziki down on the bottom. We'll do a touch of tzatziki on top as well. Pickled products are big in Middle Eastern cuisine, pickled onions or other pickled items on top of this too to go with the cooling effect of it. That meatball's a little big.
What's the name of this again?
Our lamb kofta tots.
Lamb kofta tots.
Yep.
I love it. So for a party, you might want to make those just a little bit smaller.
Yeah, you make them a little bit smaller. You can
my definition of an appetizer is, will a lady eat it?
Yes, absolutely.
I think maybe even half that size.
Absolutely. Well, and like
work.
I said, you could do the little rounds of the cucumbers. I just do a touch of the tzatziki on top. And do a little mint to garnish.
And if you're allergic to garlic, you can also leave the garlic out, and it's still a wonderful recipe for tzatziki. And you'll notice in the stores you can buy it with or without. Now, would you put a little green on top of that, a little herb, or?
Well, like I was saying, I like to sometimes pickle onions.
Ooh, yeah, mint.
And put some pickled red onions on top of that. Gives a little pink color to it as well.
How do you pickle an onion?
Pickle an onion, you shave it thin. You take 3 parts of red wine vinegar, 1 part sugar. Bring that up to a boil, and you pour it over your thinly shaved onion. And in 30 minutes, you'll have a quick pickled onion.
Awesome.
And they only get better with time, too. So they will last months, honestly, in the fridge.
Months.
So we've got that. That's the lamb kofta tot that's finished. Right over here, we're going to finish our BLT spoons real quick. So you've got that little bit of lettuce that we shaved.
I do.
A little bit of the dressing.
Here's the dressing.
That's a fork.
It smells so good.
So we're just going to take, the cut on that is called a chiffonade. It's just French for ribbon. Thinly sliced lettuce, or you could use any type of baby green you want to use for this.
Ruben used the green leaf single, and then you can just roll it up like this, and then just kind of slice across it really thin. That's all there is to making a chiffonade.
So we're just mixing a little bit of that in right there. I mean, the bacon is the big part of a BLT. So you want a little bit of a lettuce to accompany it.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I love it.
Kind of sit it off to the side in the back.
I always like to cook my own dinners, so sometimes I'll have Ruben come and I'll just say, okay, here's all the stuff, and then he'll plate it so beautifully it looks like it came straight out of his restaurant. Awesome.
And then the tea, which is just a little tiny cherry tomato. And stick those on there.
BLT, gorgeous. Looks like Julia Childs made it. It's beautiful.
So, and this is a gluten-free, friendly version of a BLT for.
Good you pointed that out. So would you serve that with a spoon, a little spoon? Or?
Yeah, we serve them on spoons. For our catering, what we do is we get these little miso spoons.
Right.
That work really well with it.
Right, the little tiny ones. I even noticed they have those at Kroger now in little boxes, the really cute little silver spoons, and then you can just throw them away. You don't even have to wash them.
To finish off these the Brussels sprouts, we've got some nice Danish blue cheese that we're going to add to that. Just add a little creaminess. And the one thing that they teach you at culinary school, especially if it's French, is fat is flavor soluble. So to bring more flavor out, you add more fat. That's why the 3 secrets of French cooking are butter, butter, and butter.
Butter, butter, and butter. In Italian, it's olive oil, olive oil, olive oil, and butter. Since they taught the French how to cook, maybe it's butter, butter, butter.
At least in the north.
I'm not sure, yeah.
So the butter, the blue cheese is kind of, you had a lot of that food sticking to the bottom of the pan again. And so what that is, like I said, that's fine. That's all flavor. So you always want to pull as much stuff of that up as possible. So we're going to take this.
Here, I'll take those from you.
Turn the heat off.
Set it so carefully and beautifully on the pan. I love it.
A little bit of that to it.
Dinner. That's another nice presentation to kind of set your chops up on the side. So in a sauteed chop, there's quite a bit of meat on it actually, and it's only 150 calories, even sauteed.
And then last but not least, a roasted cauliflower that we had behind us.
And all I did to roast the cauliflower is to put just a little bit of oil on it. This one has some barbecue rub on it from Season's Harvest. I have it back here. The Legend barbecue rub. Put it on with a little bit of olive oil and roasted it in the oven for 30 minutes, and then I just turned the oven off until it was tender. Wow.
And you can do so many different things with cauliflower. You can puree it up afterwards as your mashed potato product. You can serve it roasted like this. And then another thing I like to do, a good way to get young kids to eat cauliflower is after that you mix it up in the food processor with a little bit of panko, cheddar cheese, some eggs, a touch of cayenne, a little bit of nutmeg, and then you can make little patties out of it and pan fry it up. And just tell them that they're cheesy cakes and omit the cauliflower.
Cheesy cakes. Can you tell Ruben has a little son?
Yes, I have a 5-year-old there where you say fruit or vegetable or anything like that, and it's suddenly not appetizing.
Suddenly not appetizing. But I'm sure that he is a very adventurous eater. He lives with you.
He does a great job. So what we have here is we have a little bit of freshly shaved raw Brussels sprout. So one other way to eat a Brussels sprout, keep it raw, keep it fresh. You can make it into a salad. What I have here is what we call brown butter. So it's butter that you bring over high heat. Take it basically to the clarified point is where all the milk solids and fats, milk solids essentially evaporate, or as you can see,
foamy stuff on the top.
Burn on the bottom almost. And then the actual color of the butter is more of a nutty brown, and it gives you a nutty flavor to the whole dish.
But this is one case where you wouldn't want to scrape out the bottom, right?
Absolutely. You don't want that because that is actually burnt.
Okay.
And we'll take a little bit of what I like to do with brown butter vinegars, vinaigrettes, is a little bit of sherry vinegar goes very well with it.
Now this has got to be extremely healthy because it's not even cooked.
Except for all the butter that we just
For your raw diet. Here, I'll take that sherry. We're not counting the butter.
Oh, okay. A touch of salt, because with the butter and the vinegar in there, you're going to want the salt to balance it out.
Otherwise, it'll be a little astringent.
Absolutely. Just a pinch of pepper. And then you have a very nice, basic...
I could have given you a wooden spoon, sorry.
It's all right. Nice, basic, raw...
And then you would serve that on the side?
Brussels sprout salad, yeah. You know, if you have more of a sweet tooth, you could add such things as dried cherries or cranberries to it, little walnut, little blue cheese.
Or all of the above?
All of the above, absolutely. It's a very, very simple style of doing a Brussels sprouts.
Okay, that's amazing. Ruben, I think you're going to be a very succventual caterer.
Well, thank you very much,
since you've already been a very successful chef in several different places, so I'm really looking forward to your new venture, and I'm sure it'll be wonderful.
Thank you for having me on the show today.
So Ruben Griffin of Naya Catering, not your average catering company. I'm Chef Lynn. Enjoy.